Hello everybody and welcome back. Today I want to do a really quick review of the Garmin Vivomove HR. So you can see this was an online item purchase, so this was like a discounted product that was purchased, I believe through Poshmark. So this was a device my wife purchased, so this is the rose pink model with the white band. So I'll give you some feedback from her as well as from myself. I personally use the Vivo Active 3, so I'll be comparing both in this video, but it's designed to be a very, very quick review of this device as it does not have as much functionality. It's designed to be more of a watch that you're using for your general day-to-day activities, not for intense workouts. So I'm going to go ahead and set that down and let it it does this weird reset where when you flip it up, the analog hands will not adjust to their current time. I'll kind of explain what that looks like, but want to go over the specs of this really quickly. So battery life, you're looking at about 5 days with your Bluetooth on pretty regularly. Again, usage is going to vary depending on how much you walk, what you do with the device. If you use Bluetooth less, then the battery life will be drastically improved. Now you can double tap on the window and you'll see the home screen display, and you can swipe left or right to get all of the options to appear. And then when you tap the display and start scrolling through, the analog hands will move to the correct time. So that is one thing I'll cover shortly. Now, as far as any other details on the watch, just like the Vivo Active 3, which I'll bring up here, you have the ability to pull in on these little metal pieces to swap out the bands, which I love that they made that improvement, as I had the Vivo Active, I believe it was the 2, and I had to use this little screwdriver to get them off, and it was just a little bit more painful to do that. So definitely a good thing there. Now, as far as the device itself, it has the majority of the functionality of the Vivo Active 3. It is a little bit more responsive. The downside is the Vivo Active 3 does have the ability to do GPS runs without a device like a phone, so the GPS is built in. And it is an always-on display where you could swap out your watch faces. So let's say you wanted to go with an analog display, you could do that from here. Now, the Vivo Active 3 is a little bit pricier, but overall, I prefer this device more personally. So you'll be able to scroll through. As you can see with this device, it does tend to be a little slower. Sometimes there will be a hiccup, so it's not as consistent when you're scrolling through the screens, but again, just a minor concern there. Now, we'll go ahead and jump to the Vivomove. So we'll go ahead and pick this up. As you can see, the hands, when I picked it up, immediately moved. So one of the weird things about this device is if you're allowing it to sit for a little while and you're not messing with any of the settings, when you flip it up, the hands will actually stay in like a different time. And if you want to get the device to actually show your current time, you would need to tap or double tap. Now, if you noticed, I just double tapped on the screen a couple of times and it didn't register. That time it did. That is one thing I've seen online with some of the other reviews, like the Techradar article, which I will paste in the description. That has a ton of additional details, but that's one concern, is it doesn't always register the taps. And if someone were to come up to you and this has been idle for a while, when you flip it up, these hands will not automatically switch to the correct time. So it is a little bit of an irritation to have to flip it up, double tap the screen, wait for the hands to register the time just to figure out what time it is currently. But again, that's just a minor gripe. If it's something that you're used to, then it's not a problem. So we're going to go ahead and double tap on the screen. You'll see your battery and the time. You'll also see your step counter, your stair counter, your activity numbers, so how many active minutes you have out of basically your weekly total, which is specified in Garmin Connect. And then you'll have your calorie counter, your music controls, the weather, and then your general messages or notifications. Then you'll have your HR, so your heart rate monitor, your stress monitor, and then you're back to your digital time with your battery indicator. Now, one complaint that I will say that my wife has had as she's been wearing this pretty heavily is she said it will get pretty hot on her skin. So the Vivo Active 3 that I have, I've never really had any issues with even noticing a temperature change with the device. However, even just holding this, when you put your finger over the heart rate monitor, you can actually feel a relatively considerable amount of warmth. Now, right now it's just noticeable, but my wife said when she's using it heavily, she'll notice that it gets pretty hot on her skin. So that is one thing to note as kind of a downside for the device. Now, as far as pricing, again, you can find these based on a couple of different factors. I've found them on Amazon anywhere from $99.99 upwards of $134 and some change. They do have some higher quality models that you can purchase that are much more expensive. So it depends on the size that you're purchasing as well as the color. For example, this is the small. So you can compare to the standard Vivo Active 3 that I have, and you'll notice that the length of the bands, there's a considerable difference. So it just depends on the model that you're actually wanting to purchase. So the only other thing to note with this device, again, there are quite a few options for different colors, and it is a true analog display here. So it is not a face or watch face that is customizable. Last thing is the charger itself. Kind of a unique look to it. So you'll have this standard cable, probably about a foot, maybe a foot and a half. And it has this clip right here. And this will clip on right here. You'd essentially just clip it and then plug in the USB cable and it would start charging. Charges relatively quickly like most other smart devices. It's not a massive battery in this. So that was just the one thing to note there. So I think that pretty much covers everything. So I want to let everyone know, if you have any questions, drop them in the comment box below. And just before closing, I wanted to note right here, you'll see that the clock is set on this time. And when you flip it up, it hasn't changed. As I mentioned before, if it's idle too long, you'll have to usually start scrolling through, and then the analog hands will go to the actual current time. So that's a little bit odd, a little bit more of an irritation, but again, it's not a huge problem if it's something that you kind of know and expect. So I hope that covered everything. If you have any questions, drop them in the comment box below. I'll be more than happy to answer them, and I will see you all in the next video.